Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. Keep in mind, since this is a psychology YouTube channel, we might get into some triggering material. I try to warn people if we're heading into common triggers, but there's a lot of triggers in life, and you just really want to take care of yourself. And as soon as you hear me dip into that kind of content and you feel distress, you want to turn off the video and talk with your therapist. Let's watch.
I'm being very awkward about it.
Yeah, me too, and I didn't expect it right now because like we're stressing so much. But yeah, I will marry you. I love you, so I'm gonna marry you.
Okay, so there's been a few scenes that I wasn't reacting to specifically, but just to catch you up, they are, they're pregnant and they're not engaged yet, and they bought a store in the front of their house where they go to the grocery store and buy snacks and stuff, and then they sell those snacks at this roadside shop for kids, I think maybe on their way to school or something. And they're talking about how much, so she took a bunch of loans from friends, 60,000 pesos, which apparently is about 1,000 US, and then every day they make about, or every week or so, I can't remember, it was a very low amount. I think it was every week or every month was 18 US dollars that they would make. And they are struggling, and she is worried, and he is talking about how he is on his phone playing video games all day long, and he doesn't help out with the store very much, and she is upset about that. And I was wondering what was going on with him, because he doesn't seem like a sexist, misogynist guy that would say, I don't, you do all the work or whatever. He just doesn't seem like he would do that. So I was wondering what was going on. He says that there's a language barrier, so he can't work in a store very easily. I'm sure there's something he could do, though, at the store or some other job, right? Today they could start a YouTube channel and make some scratch. Didn't Rose do that with, Ed and Rose back in the day? Anyway, and maybe they already have. But the other thing that was but I was also wondering if he was depressed because of his ongoing depression that might be around anyway, which would not be surprising, which I don't know, or if because of what everything, it wouldn't be uncommon for someone in his position to have a mood swing issue at this transition moment where he is finally with someone, he's finally achieved his life goal of finding his person. And now he's reckoning with the reality of it, the practical side. Oh no, kid. Oh no. What about times when we're not really getting along? What about money? I'm in the Philippines. I can't communicate with people. What's my job prospect? I don't have any of my support system. I don't know the culture. I don't know the religion. I don't know anything. What's happening right now? And you could imagine someone shutting down under those circumstances because there's not much to do. There's not a lot of direct, any career option would require that he speak the language, right? I have a lot of people in the Philippines know English, but I don't think where they live it's very common. But I don't know that. That's what he was saying. And anyway, so I was wondering what their issue was. It sounded like they hadn't really talked about it, or he hadn't fully reckoned with the situation. But anyway, so then he proposes I'm gonna say it was one of the most awkward proposals I've ever seen in my life, and maybe the most awkward we've seen on this show. I mean, there were other notable ones that people will sometimes identify as awkward, like when Tariq had the rap song or something. Sometimes people laugh about that one, but that, to me, that didn't seem. This one, he in the beginning, he just had this ring and he's just staring down at it, and he's like, "Yeah, so this is a ring," and she's like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, if you take this ring, then that means we're going to get married." It's something like that. And I thought about how my Japanese grandma, Japanese American grandma and Japanese American grandpa. They were in Spokane, Washington, which is, east of me by some miles, but they were in their 20s, and she had a crush on him because he was this dapper athlete that everyone loved, and apparently he had girlfriends in every town because he would travel with his baseball team and his basketball team and his football team. But they went to a movie, and it was a Looney Tunes movie, and Porky Pig came on. It was a Porky Pig cartoon. So they're sitting in the movie theater, and Porky Pig proposes to a girl pig of some sort. And in that moment, he turns to my grandma. So, they're 20, he's probably 27, she's probably 22 or something. He turns to her and says, "How would you like one of those?" or something like that. Just one sentence, just a question. And she was like, "Huh? Oh, well, yeah, that'd be nice." And that was it. That was the end of the conversation. They never talked about it again. Eventually, he gave her a ring, and she's like, "Oh, a ring." And then he said, "Oh, but you can't wear it because we haven't told our parents, and they'd kill us if we were engaged without asking them first. So you can't wear the ring." And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well," and then eventually they tell the parents and da-da-da. But that was his proposal. Porky Pig, do you want one of those? I feel like this one was more awkward than that because he just was hemming and hawing the whole time. And then her response, I have to say, is pretty awkward too. It's one of the most unromantic responses, because at a certain point you'd think she would catch on, like, oh, he's proposing. You'd think she would think it's the thought that counts. But she's in this mindset right now of how the money situation, and of course she should be concerned about that, but if she's on board with the marriage, you just think that she would go, "Oh, well, yeah," and then think in her head, "Well, we'll talk about the money thing in a bit." But I think it's notable that on the ring, it has an inscription that he bought specifically for this moment that says, "You are enough." I don't think that phrase really resonates with her because I don't know if she has that in her lexicon, but that is a phrase that is very poignant for some people. It might be poignant for all of us, but particularly for some people with the traumas that he has. That's his main trauma. And he even said that in their fights, they will both say that. We know he will say that. We've seen him, we've heard him say that that's his trauma is, I am not good enough. And what's happening right now is because I'm not good enough. My mom was using substances and disappearing for days because I'm not good enough. And if you have that trauma, and I know some of you do, my heart cries for you. Is that a saying? I cry for you. My heart breaks for you. That's probably better. Because it's true. For children to be given the very clear message that they're not good enough for love and security and attention and attunement and safety is one of the biggest crimes on humanity that humans will cause. That's a very weird sentence. It's one of the biggest crimes in humanity. And now, a lot of parents don't wake up in the morning and say, "I'm going to commit that crime." They're dealing with their own struggles, but it's just awful. Anyway, so I was wondering if this is a ring for him mainly. I wouldn't be surprised if that phrase, if she could say, well, if there's a phrase that I would like to have on my ring, I think it would be something different. So I'm wondering if he's kind of undifferentiatedly fusing and saying, like, this is our thing when it's more his thing. I don't know. But I'll also point out that when we are struggling, we often will tell other people things that we want to be told ourselves, or not even necessarily struggling when we're needing something. If we don't acknowledge that to ourselves and we don't feel safe to just ask for it, like for him to just say, "I would like you to tell me every day that I'm enough. I'm good enough for love. I'm good enough for you to love me and not leave me." instead of saying that because it's too vulnerable, he might say, honey, you're enough. You're good enough, hoping that she'll reciprocate or something like that. So we can learn from that ourselves. And also notice in our partners that if they're saying something like, hey, I love you, or hey, you're pretty, or hey, I am doing this for you, you might raise the question, oh, I wonder if they're actually wanting me to do this. Is their passive way of asking for it right now? Sometimes you can notice things like that.
We're still struggling, and I'm still really stressing so bad. So I'm just saying yes because I need to, and I don't want him to be hurt or anything. So I just say yes.
Well, that's not a good sign. And it makes me wonder about when this interview took place, because if they end up breaking up, then she might be saying this after the fact, or I don't know. But anyway, it doesn't instill a lot of confidence that she is saying, I didn't really want to say yes to marry him, but I did because I didn't want to hurt his feelings. That's interesting. What is that? I thought she was totally on board. Plus, she's pregnant, and she really, I don't know. I'm curious as to where is her mind? What's going on in her mind?
Brandan, please lower it. Can you lower the volume? You're not alone here. You need to lower the volume, but you're turning it up. I said lower it, but you're turning it up.
TV, can you talk to me?
Okay, so they are fighting, and this is a cell phone video, I think, that she's taking as evidence or something. And I don't think he knows he's being recorded. And she is telling him to turn the TV down. And when you hear her describe it, it sounds like he's this complete jerk face. But she did say, and maybe he is, and it sounds like he is being a jerk face, but why is the question I have. And she was saying that he's sleeping all the time, which does lend itself to depression. I don't know that, of course, but I wouldn't be surprised. What he has been through in life would often result in a variety of trauma results, including depression, ongoing depression, or periodic depression. And so I could absolutely see someone in his position, even if he didn't have trauma. I think I might go into some level of depression if I had no prospects. I couldn't speak the language. I was separated from everybody and everything that I know. It would just be demoralizing on some level. So I think that that's possible. It doesn't give him an excuse to just be a jerk face and turn up the TV, of course, but she's telling him turn up the TV, and he's saying something interesting. He's saying, can you talk to me? Come over here and talk to me. So this could be his passive aggressive way of trying to engage with her on some level. So the grandma is saying that they fight all the time, and I was worried about that. What we saw on camera was that they seemingly were getting along after they had a big fight a while back. I think it was months prior to this moment. And I was hoping that the conflict had gone down. In terms of the edit, it looked that way, but I didn't think it was likely given how deep their traumas run. So we're hearing that they're continuing to fight. And this is an example of that. So I would imagine that their ongoing fighting has to do with their attachment injuries to each other and their attachment reactivity to each other. I don't know how that plays out away from the cameras, but I could see him being kind of clingy. She's around other people she knows, right? She can turn to other people. He has one person in his life that he can cling on to, and that's her. So I wouldn't be surprised if he is a little demanding, a little dependent, and she might shut down more often. We kind of saw that. Anyway, so I could imagine, I'm just making up stories, I have no idea, but I could imagine that going down a certain road, and then they have been fighting, and they're distancing, and they're not talking, and there's been long stretches of time where they're giving each other the silent treatment, or they're being snippy at each other. And then he goes into this room in the house and he turns up the TV, and he is hoping that someone will, or he's trying to communicate that he, maybe they had a fight and he's like, fine, and he goes in the other room and he turns on the TV and turns up the volume, and in his head he's like, oh, I should probably turn it down a little bit, but then he's like, yeah, screw it. If I'm not good enough for her love, then screw it. Then I'm just going to be a bad person. And then she's like, turn on the TV, and she starts filming it. And the way it looks is like he's this deadbeat husband who doesn't care about other people's feelings. I'm just going to take a guess and say that there was something that led up to this. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. So I don't know about you, but throughout my day, I have two opposing forces in my mind between what I want to do, like playing a video game or playing with my dogs, and what I should do, like exercise more or eat more fiber or something. As a therapist, I talk with a lot of clients about this inner conflict. Most people think it's all about willpower, even though research demonstrates that willpower doesn't really work. There are a lot of evidence-based techniques that actually work that people don't usually consider, like using behavioral shaping techniques or healing from our relational traumas that keep us stuck internally. Well, one option worth exploring is BetterHelp. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's worth giving a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and suited to your schedule. And also, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So, make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Just lower the volume. He's telling me, the bad words like, you, Mary. He's like that. And everybody can hear. After that, he just walked away and won't come back to the house.
Okay, yeah. I'm just going to take a guess and say I've worked with a lot of couples, and a lot of couples, whether they're in my office or not, have a lot of conflict, and it can get pretty ugly. And a lot of people think that they're the only ones doing it when everyone is doing it, but no one's Instagramming about it. So what I'm seeing is a very typical fight between two people in a relationship, and I don't hear anything unusual. Even couples that are doing pretty well will have moments like this. So I'm guessing there's a lot of detail there. There's a lot of attachment injury there. There's a lot of hurt feelings, resentments building, a lot of fears of being abandoned that are being triggered, and neither one of them knows how to communicate about it and take care of each other and themselves.
And he's always doing that.
Brandan,
What's up?
what's going on, man?
Okay, so production has tracked him down because he just walked off, and now we'll see what he says.
What happened?
Just had a really bad fight with Mary. Things got heated. I just felt like I really had to just get out of the house and escape that environment.
Okay, so he's confirming at least part of my hypothesis that they had a really bad fight. It wasn't just him watching TV and being a jerk face. It was probably a part of an ongoing fight that was going on.
But instead of being happy, me and Mary are fighting more and more. I don't know what to say, what to do. For the most part, I just walk away because that's how I grew up. And sometimes I'll go to the town square and I'll just sleep on a stone bench.
Okay, so he's saying that he walks away. So I'm guessing if their fights on camera are representative of what's happening off camera, that they will hurt each other's feelings, and he'll get that voice, that paternal voice that he thinks is helpful or stabilizing or differentiated, but it's angry and hostile. She, I'm guessing, shuts down, and then he throws his hands up and walks away. I'm guessing it's something like that.
I've come to the spot a few times, and then I go back usually a couple hours, and then we're calm enough to not yell at each other, but to talk to each other with a normal attitude.
We fight.
Well, that's encouraging. He's saying that if they take a break, they're able to actually talk and maybe work things out. So that's good. But I wonder if they're really working things out, or if they're just kind of working things out and resentments are starting to build up.
If I'm sleeping in or if I'm playing a game too much, and yeah, maybe I could try harder around the house, but I'm not just doing nothing. If she's hungry, I'm trying to get her food. If she wants her back scrubbed, I help out. And we still end up yelling and arguing.
Yeah, and this comes up occasionally, and it certainly comes up a lot in society where you have someone, usually a man, a dude, or a teenage boy, but it could be of any gender, that someone is playing video games a lot, and the hypothesis or the conceptualization is that they're lazy or they're addicted to video games or something like that. And certainly addiction to screens and video games can be a factor, but the road to that pattern is more likely something related to demoralization, depression, lack of agency, lack of locus of control, internal locus of control, oppression, conflict, attachment, insecurity. It's an escape, right? It's not that the video games are the problem, because if the video game, what did people like him do before they had before phones were invented, smartphones, and before video games were invented? It's not like things were better back then. It was just that they would do something else, maybe use substances, maybe get violent, maybe walk away or just shut down or something. So I'm guessing that the sleeping in, also depression can sometimes lead to chronic video game playing, not because of a compulsion for the video game, but they just don't know what to do, and they might as well do that. They don't even really get that much pleasure from playing the video game, but it's something to pass the time rather than just staring at the wall, which some people who suffer from depression will do because they don't have motivation to do anything. So I'm going to take a guess and say that something's going on there. And I often say this, but I've never hoped for it more than that they get professional help, because what they're suffering from is not strange to me. It doesn't look strange at all to me. It looks very normal to me and fixable to me. And without that help, it's just going to get worse, and the resentment's going to get worse, and the demoralization's going to get worse. They're going to they probably are re-traumatizing each other in terms of abandonment and lack of attunement and lack of empathy towards each other. Okay, well, let's adjourn there. I want to do a little guided self-affirmation of some sort. And, at the end of the show, I always say, take care of yourself. A little history on that. I originally in the podcast didn't have any sort of sign out. I think I just said, join us next week or something. And then eventually I started saying, take care. And I found myself, I think I got it from my life when I would say goodbye to people. You have these repetitive things that you say. And I found myself often saying, take care, because I don't know exactly why this happened, but I was often saying goodbye to a lot of different sort of people. I'd be saying goodbye to friends, family, just like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow, take care. But I would also be saying goodbye to clients and students and colleagues. And I either randomly started doing this, or I actually thought about it, that the goodbye of take care kind of applies to a lot of different people, to clients as well. So I think I just got into that habit, and I started doing it on the podcast. Then I think I started saying take care of yourself, and it just sort of got longer and longer on the audio podcast. And then by the time I was making more videos, I would just incorporate it into that. And I really mean it, and I hope y'all know that. I know some of you will email or comment and say that it means a lot to you when I say it, and I do mean it genuinely. I'm not just saying a random phrase. So along those lines, I thought I would walk us through, and I'll do it too, to myself, if you will, that I'll follow what I'm saying. So if you can say this out loud or just internalize this, that so a little history, more history is, I would say you deserve it. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. I remember emphasizing that years ago on the podcast, because I found that I was going through a phase with a lot of people in my life and clients and students where I felt like the word deserve had lost its importance in our society. And the word deserve felt like it was associated with entitlement. And I felt like a lot of people were walking around with the sense that they don't deserve to get their needs met. They don't deserve safety. They don't deserve to take care of themselves. They don't deserve other people to take care of them. And we didn't really have language around that. You know, it's one thing to say, take care of yourself. It's another thing to really emphasize, hey, you know, you deserve. And when I would work with clients, I found that when I would say that to them, whether it was taking care of themselves or something else, like I might say, you deserved better as a child from your parents. And it can really hit home for people. Like, it's not just the idea of your parents mistreated you and I'm angry at your parents. And, you know, that can be a powerful statement as well. But there's something kind of different because I think it touches on our inner child, because we enter the world with the notion that we do deserve things. And then when we don't get them, we conclude, well, we must not deserve them. And to be reminded that you do deserve these things, I think is a powerful platform upon which people can stand to actually get their needs met. So you and I, we all deserve to get our needs met. Within reason, of course. But, you know, basic needs like food and shelter, water, safety, security, love, affection, respect, stability, loyalty, all the things. And we all deserve, you deserve, you know, and you can say, I deserve to know what I want and to at least consider that when I'm doing things during the day. I deserve to tell other people what I want and what I need. I deserve other people to listen to me and to let me have those things. Even if they don't like it, I deserve for them to hear me and to take the time to listen and to tell me that they're listening. We deserve to slow down at times. We deserve some, you know, alone time with our own thoughts. I deserve time to take a break now and then. I deserve to think about my life. I deserve fulfillment. I deserve other people to not burden me too much. We deserve to take care of ourselves. And also when I say take care of yourself, I'm not saying, go off into the woods and take care of yourself. What I mean by that really is, take care of yourself, meaning if that entails, which it often does, asking for help from other people, then you deserve to ask for help and you deserve to get that help. Not that you should just take care of yourself, like go over there and self-care yourself, stop bothering people. 99% of the time, when I say take care of yourself, I'm saying ask for help. That's usually what taking care of yourself means. I could probably listen to that one. And everyone, truly, really, take care of yourself, really, because you deserve to take care of yourself. You deserve other people to take care of you. You do, really do.